All right, so my mic was not working, but we are still going to go live. The Niners just wrapped up day one, or day, I guess their day one, day two of the draft. And I wanted to come on here and react to it for, like, I don't know, the next 20, 30 minutes and kind of tell you my thoughts, which is pretty typical. I mean, my thoughts are pretty typical of how the every other Niners fan right now is feeling, I'd hope, because it was not a good draft. Um, Again, I was doing homework before this while listening to a reaction show with some other Niners content creators on there. And then I didn't really even have a ton of time to take notes on the players that they drafted, although I do know Romello Height. But let's kind of react to the first pick from the Niners, Deshaun Stribling, the receiver out of Ole Miss. Personally, I thought, okay, there's about coming into it about a 30% chance that we take a receiver. After day one, after we traded down twice, I was like, this is the best start the Niners have had to a draft in the John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan era. And I was like, are we starting to finally learn from our mistakes? Is the front office finally starting to learn from our mistakes? Is the front office finally starting to grow and show self-growth? And that's all things that I was thinking about after the first day. And then the second day comes along, and we announced that Deshaun Stribling is the pick. My reaction to that, and it's okay. I had a feeling we were going to take receiver, but okay, maybe this was the number one wide receiver on the Niners draft board, whatever. But there were so many other guys. Chase Besantis went right after that. TJ Parker went right after that. Denzel Boston went a couple picks after that. Edge rusher, Cassius Howell, SEC Player of the Year, went at pick 9 in the second round. There were just so many other players that are clearly fill more of a need, were higher on everyone's board than Deshaun Stribling, who I had graded out as a third-round pick. It's almost like the Niners, Kyle Shanahan, we all are applauding them for the great move that they had done in the first round by trading out. They had missed out on no player. When they traded out, I was like, there are still 6 or 7 prospects that they could take here that I would absolutely love this pick. They missed out on no one in the first round that dropped to them. Like, when they traded out at 27, Iheanacho had already gotten picked. Iheanacho had already gotten picked. That was a potential, but I had a very strong feeling he was going to go before that. Malachi Lawrence had already been picked, which I have a feeling the Niners really wanted Malachi Lawrence, and once he got picked, they decided to trade down. Keelan Rutledge had already gotten picked. Caleb Lomu, I'm glad we didn't pick him. So we're all applauding Kyle Shanahan for the growth in the first round, in that first day. And then he has to say, no, all of you guys are wrong. I'm going to take a graded third-round wide receiver just to troll everyone. But okay, after that first pick, I was like, you know what? From the few clips I had seen, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Well, he had graded out as a 4th-round wide receiver. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I didn't watch a whole lot of him. But from what I watched, and we can break down his profile, but from what I watched, I saw a guy who he's a guy who's a big body. You give the ball to him. I mean, at his height, he's 6'4", 6'5", whatever it is, can run a 4.4 or 4.3. At his height, with his speed, and then most of his highlights were in college. him getting the ball on a slant and then taking it to the house, or getting the ball on a slant and getting crazy yak afterwards. Like, this is a Kyle Shanahan. We can clearly see why they drafted Deshaun Stribling. He's a Kyle Shanahan guy. I mean, you give the ball to him in space and he's going to do something with it. And with his size, his speed, I mean, it's almost like a DK Metcalf slash Deebo Samuel type receiver. So I'm actually wasn't even that mad just looking at it. Although there were so many other players that I would have rathered. But that's not the one that really, and then we trade out of 58. And normally I'd say that was good. Because, the one thing I think the Niners, if I'm taking a more positive outlook on things, the one thing the Niners did do is they did pick up some more picks. They now have 8 picks instead of 7. They traded up with the array of picks that the Niners, they traded 3 times in this draft already, I believe. 1, 2, or 4 times even. Was it 4 or 3? I think it was 3 times. And so now they have pick 107, pick 127, pick 133, pick 139, and pick 179. Let me just make sure this is a public stream. Want to make sure public. There we go. Anyway, so that's one thing I'll applaud them for. Trading down, getting extra picks. But for who was on the board at 58, I wouldn't have traded down there. I mean, on the board at 58, you still had Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, potential game changer wide receiver. You still had Emmanuel Pregnon, who almost made it to their pick at pick 70 in round 3, but actually, no, they could have picked him at pick 70 in round 3, which was their next pick, but they passed on him with Romello Height. But Emmanuel McNeil-Warren was still there at 58. I would have stayed put and taken him, or a guard. I mean, Logan Jones, the center, went the pick before 58 at 57. Who's another guy that I really would have, let's see. Kieron Crawford, the edge out of Auburn, went at 67. That was another great prospect. Antonio Williams, who literally, if you guys go back to my last live, I laid out 10 guys that I would love the Niners to draft. Antonio Williams was on that list. He is the most underrated wide receiver, was the most underrated wide receiver in this year's draft. He had more production than Omar Cooper. He has 4.3 speed. He's not just a slot receiver because he has really good route running, tough as hell over the middle, 4.3 speed. So Antonio Williams, we passed up on him and took Romello Height. Antonio Williams, the wide receiver from Clemson, went the pick later. So it's those first 2 picks, it's like, okay, that's great. Like, I'm not super mad. I mean, okay, but if they're both reaches, I mean, Romello Height might not be a reach. I honestly don't hate the Romello Height pick. I think at that point in the draft, you need an edge rusher. And I think for the value if Malachi Lawrence or Akeem Mesidor wasn't going to be there in round 1, then, but even like I would have rather Gabe Yakis over Romello Height. Let's look at the other edge rushers that were picked after pick 33. I would have rather TJ Parker over Romello Height. I would have rathered Cassius Howell, like I said, SEC Player of the Year over Romello Height, even though he has shorter arms. But, okay, I will say. And then the guys who still prospects, let me look at, okay, let's go to edge. Because I like Joshua Josephs more than Romello Height. Denise Sutton more than Romello Height. Because the problem now, but like I said, I'm getting way off track here. At pick number 70, the edge rusher is a good value pick. If you're not going to get the guy you like at pick 33, then yes, by all means, go pick 70. I don't think Romello Height's going to be too much of a reach at pick 70, but he's not the guy I would have taken there. And here's the reason why. He is not a 3-down player. He needs to add more mass to his frame. He's a light player, but the problem is he looks shredded. He's also 25. He's a really old edge rusher. So I don't know if he's at this late in his career, is he actually going to be able to add some weight to become a 3-down player? The reason why I like Malachi Lawrence so much is he has the frame. He has the frame to add weight. Romello Height doesn't really. If we're looking at his measurables, I could look up his profile. I'm literally going straight off the rip here. But he's a good speed rusher. He's an outside linebacker / exactly what the Niners needed there. But he's not the guy I would have went because he's really a guy who isn't he's a 3rd-down specialist right now. He's a speed rusher who kind of a one-trick pony, has a really quick first step, but a lot of his big production came off of playing alongside and opposite to David Bailey, who went number 2 overall. And he broke out. He never had a good season except last season where he had 10 sacks. But he never, like TJ Parker, Malachi Lawrence, like all these guys had consistent production throughout college. Romello Height never had that. He had one good year. Let me look up Romello Height draft profile. No, profile. Man. So, again, where PFF had him ranked 77, ESPN 100, The Athletic 80th, and CBS Sports 78th. But they give him PFSN, Pro Football Network, gives him blue chip agility and twitch, blue chip explosiveness, blue chip bend. This is their his testing and comps. He's 239, which is the 20th percentile in edge rushers. His arm length isn't particularly good. This is the thing. He doesn't have at all good measurements. His arm length is 32.25-inch arms, which is 25th percentile. And we already know, like, that's a big thing as an edge rusher, is having long arms. Hand size 9.5-inch hands, which is 43rd percentile. He ran a 4.6, which is 76th percentile. But let's look at kind of his overview. So he joined the Tigers in 2020 as a 4-star recruit, transferred to USC in 2022. After missing most of his first year at USC due to a shoulder injury, that's another con, is that he missed some time in college. Let's look at his stats. He had 2.5 sacks in 2024, didn't have good production at Georgia Tech, had 4 sacks at USC, got injured at Auburn in 2021, and then 2025, he had 10 sacks. So he had one really notable year. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Blue chip explosiveness, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But I will say that from everything I've heard, his weight, he needs to add weight, but his body, he's shredded. Like, he's also 25. So can he add that weight? His frame he has a pretty small frame, small body. So can he really add that weight to become, he's not good against the run. So, I mean, I think we could have done better. And if you also, like I said, if you look at the prospects that were picked after him, there were guys that I would have taken around that spot at pick 70 that went right before or right after him. So it's not even like our scouting reports, a lot of people's scouting reports on these guys were wrong. It's just the Niners just love to reach. And they've been doing this for so long. The Niners love to reach for players. Love it. But let's see who went after Romello Height, who I would have really liked. Tight end Oscar Delp. Like, I've been saying this. Need to get a tight end. Chris McClellan, really liked him coming out. AJ Halsey, that's another thing. I mean, we do not have a safety right now, which I would have liked to take sooner rather than later because there is a drop-off there. And here's what makes the Deshaun Stribling, to go back to him, that pick so frustrating, is that there were guys in the second and third round that are not that much. I mean, yes, he fits your system, but this was a monumental reach. You could have gotten this guy at 58. And now a lot of people will say, well, you don't know where he would have went. I guess. But if we're looking up, let's look up Deshaun Stribling really quickly. Deshaun Stribling. Okay. Draft profile. But I said this also like a couple weeks ago. I had a live show and I said, the Niners, we can make these lists, we can make these mock drafts, but the Niners are going to do their own thing and we're all going to hate it. And it's like this every year. Truly, every year. My word, my computer likes to crash. All right. So starts off with saying Deshaun Stribling is a day 3 wide receiver prospect with an intriguing blend of size, athleticism, and every down utility. I mean, he is a very good deep target, like, and he's a big body. Like, this is going to fit with Kyle Shanahan's system and with Brock Purdy. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, but there is definitely guys I would have taken over him. So I'm just looking at the Stribling earned, he missed all but 4 games due to a hand injury in his first season with the Cowboys in 2024, recorded 52 catches for 882 yards and 6 touchdowns, closed out his career with 55 receptions for 811, 6 touchdowns. He earned a solid 78 wide receiver impact score. He only had a 2% drop rate. That's good. Stribling produced from the get-go in college, and that early breakout tracks with his high-level tools at 6'2", 207 with near 32-inch arms and sub-4.4 speed. Stribling has a tantalizing size-to-speed profile on the vertical plane, as well as the combined catch radius. Here's one thing. Stribling's route tree, which is what I heard beforehand. Stribling's route tree needs to be more developed, but his non-elite hip fluidity and bend slightly reduces his ceiling in that department. He is a very big wide receiver. Like, you watch him on his breaks and his routes, and it's like clunky watching him break. But measurable, I mean, 4'3" at 6'2", 207, a 4'3". Yeah, I mean, this guy is an athletic freak. So maybe this is a steal that the Niners, got. This is like a Ted Hurst type player in that kind of level. But this is kind of an arrogant pick, which is what Kyle Shanahan does all the time. So I won't harp on much on Romello Height and Deshaun Stribling much anymore. But I will harp a little bit more on Kalen Black. This is a running back, and this is the true guy where I'm like, man, there were guys after Kalen Black that I would have easily taken over just running backs. Like, we all agree that the Niners needed a running back. Kyle Shanahan said it a couple weeks ago in his presser. Christian McCaffrey isn't getting any younger. We need to start taking the load off of him a little bit. And so my mind immediately went, okay, they might get a running back early in this draft. So who could they get? Right. And so my mind already went to guys like, let me look at rounds, prospects. I just need a list up in front of me here so I'll remember status, college, class, where the flip running back. There we go. My mind immediately went to Nick Singleton, who production out of college. He had 1,000 yards at Penn State 2 years ago. Super explosive back, mimics the play style of Christian McCaffrey. Really good in the pass game, really explosive, runs the outside zone really well, which is what the Niners primarily run. And so my mind immediately went Nicholas Singleton, running back Penn State, and they could get him in the 4th round, which will be tomorrow. They could have gone, I liked Mike Washington. I mean, who didn't like Mike Washington, who, by the way, met with the Niners? That's another thing. Like the Niners in this first day, the only guy that they met with out of these 3 players were Romello Height, I believe. But Mike Washington, I mean, agility, crazy, has crazy speed, was getting compared to Adrian Peterson. The Niners were rumored to really like him as a prospect. I loved Mike Washington as a prospect. But instead, we go a guy in Kalen Black, who was projected in the 5th or 6th round. And here's his draft profile. He actually, let's look up his, because I'm looking at his draft profile from NFL.com, but I want a little bit more in depth. And then I'm going to watch some film on these guys and tell you a little bit more of what I think. So let's look up Kalen Black. Boom. All right. So PFSN had him ranked 170. He was projected 5th round pick. PFF had him 187. ESPN 213. The Athletic 179. So he's another 25-year-old. This is another thing. Niners went really crazy age. Deshaun Stribling, 25. Romello Height, 25. Kalen Black, also 25. So 5'10", 208. Let's look at his traits first. 5'9", not great. 211, not great. Arm length, not great. Ran a 4.4, 83rd percentile, not bad. He'll turn 25 in October, and he has a spotty injury history. So that's kind of up the Niners' alley. Now, lean, well leveraged with elite north-south explosiveness. So fast striding, acceleration, foot speed in close quarters. What I read is he's not super elusive. I'll have to look into him more, though. I'm not going to lie. I did not expect this guy to go this early. So, I mean, let's look at his production. Let's look from last year when they won he was splitting time. He had 1,000 yards, okay, 10 rush TDs, yards per carry, 5.6. I don't know. I still think there were better guys than this guy and then also you look at who got drafted before, or actually right after him, who we passed up on. Trey Zune would have been a great kind of center to guard replacement. Jayshawn Barham, the Niners met with on a top 30 visit. Great edge. Chris Bell, we had already taken. Jennings Dunker, a guard. Julian Neal was a cornerback that I really liked, who I think could have converted to safety. Let's quickly, and then Jalen Husky was a guy that we met with who went at the end. But one guy that I actually, looking ahead till tomorrow, now to look forward, Tomorrow we have a pick 107, which is the first 7 picks of round 4. If we were to go safety / corner, which we still need to, I think, there is still a guy out there that I thought would be long gone by now, but is not. Let's see here. Jalen Kilgore is still on the board. And I thought would be gone by early round 3, late round 2. But Jalen Kilgore, I would not be surprised if the Niners get him with pick 7 of the 4th round, 107. That would be a steal, in my opinion. But watch the Niners not do it. I mean, there were just every single pick, there were players that there's no way we can't get this guy. This guy's best player available. And then they just reach. And so I'm not saying any of the picks were necessarily bad, but they're all picks that you can clearly tell, yeah, the Niners fell in love with this guy and then just reached on him. Like, they just do not care whether or not value matters. But I mean, I didn't mind the Romello Height pick. I think it was decent value, pick 70. Why not? I just don't think this guy has a lot to grow. He has a very high floor, very low ceiling. Like, at 25 years old, undersized defensive end who really primarily just bases his game off of speed, and his 1 year of good production came behind playing opposite to David Bailey, the best edge rusher in this year's class. So, I mean, yeah, he could be pretty good, but he's not going to be anything crazy. Deshaun Stribling, I'm going to have to go back and watch some tape, watch some film. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm mixed because at first I was really mad about the picks we made. I'm still mad about the Kalen Black pick running back because that was a clear reach. And another thing, a point I'll make before I go. I said I'd go for 30 minutes. I need to go to bed. It's 11:30 here on the East Coast. But the point I heard made by a lot of content creators was the Niners should just stop picking running backs in the 3rd round. I mean, who have we picked in the 3rd round at running back that has worked out? Let's go down the list. Jadarian Price, or whatever the guy's name was in 2022. Trey Sermon was another running back in the 3rd round that we completely missed on. Last year, we drafted the guy from Oregon. Actually, I can go back. My brain is working not the greatest capacity right now. So in 2021, it was Trey Sermon. Yep. In 2022, because we drafted, I believe, a running back in the 3rd round 2 years in a row, if I believe. Or, hold on, round 3. Tyrion Davis Price. He was on the Niners for like 2 years. Same with Trey Sermon. So 2 years in a row, 2 third-round busts. And then there was the famous one. How am I forgetting about 2024 when we drafted the guy out of in round, was it 4? When we drafted Isaac Guerendo in the 4th round in 2024. So my whole point of this is, great. At least Kyle Shanahan went with a running back who has had proven college production. That was the biggest thing with Isaac Guerendo in 2024 is he ran a 4.3, but he really didn't do much else. At least this guy had 1,000 yards once in his college career, Kalen Black. But running backs that we have drafted in rounds 3 and 4, 2, 3, and 4 have never panned out. I mean, I just don't know how you can make the same pick over and over again, expecting the same results. So I don't necessarily have a problem with the first 2 picks, but the 3rd pick, it's like, at least he went with somebody who somewhat showed that he can produce. That's the only plus to this. But anyways, guys, I'll be back maybe on I'd say maybe on Sunday. I'd say Sunday to recap the draft. It'll give me a little bit more of a chance to really react to and make a proper assessment on Dejon Stribling. And then we'll also see how the Niners finish this one out. I still think there's a lot of good prospects out there. I still think we've got, like I said before, let me quickly go back through the prospects. Undrafted. We've still got Jermod McCoy, who was a first-round talent, but his knee, he's probably going to miss all of next year. But at this point, I would take a flyer in the 4th round at a top 15 talent in Jermod McCoy. I don't care how injured that guy is. Like, if he can come back healthy, 4th round flyer. Jalen Kilgore, I already mentioned him. I would love him in day 3, that early day 3 spot. Sam Heck. I mean, again, Niners, and this is another thing, our continuance to not prioritize the offensive line. We passed up on 2 guards. We passed up on Chase Basantis in the 2nd round. We passed up on Emmanuel Pregnon twice before he went in the 3rd round. He dropped, which was kind of a shocker because he has the measurables. He was my 3rd ranked guard. I'm surprised he dropped. I'm not really sure why. Guards tend to, maybe it's something wonky with his draft visits or whatever. But we passed up on guys who, they have very low floors in Chase Basantis and Emmanuel Pregnon in guards. It's just amazing year after year, the complete inability to prioritize the offensive line. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. Not even in the 3rd round. And at this point, I think it's probably going to be closer to the 5th round that we draft an offensive lineman. We don't have a starting left guard. Our solution at left guard is to put Brett Toth in there, who has started 3 career games and has done nothing notable in his career and has played 3 years while doing nothing noticeable. That's our solution at left guard. Or the guy we got from the Dolphins who had, broke his neck last year and has done nothing noticeable in his career. So that is I'm not even mad with a lot of these picks we made. It's just Brock, I feel for you. It's not even like we're, not trying to prioritize building around him because we did just draft a receiver. But it's almost like we are so blind. When the Niners got blown out by 40 points by the Seahawks in the NFC Championship or NFC Divisional round, and when we got beaten by them in Week 18 last year, my main takeaway going back from that game is we have no pass rush and we can't stop their defensive line to save our lives. I mean, they were getting pressure with 4 guys. Jake Brendel and Spencer Burford were struggling mightily. How can you go back and look at last year? You've got to be, just so stuck in your own way to look at those games and be like, yeah, we're good at offensive line. We're good. Trust me, we're good. I don't get that. How you can look at the performances last year and just say we can address offensive line on day 3. Now, here's a prospect that I would really, really like the Niners still to get that didn't get drafted. Febechi Nuewu. I've been talking about him the entire draft cycle. I mentioned him in my top 10 players list a couple days ago that I would really like the Niners to go and get this guy. Let me turn up my brightness. My computer's about to die. That I would really like the Niners to get this guy, the guard from Oklahoma. And he's still there. We could get him with this next pick at 107. If we got Febechi Nuewu, I would be actually not too mad. if we're looking at guards still, there's still Bo Stevens. I've talked about him on the show before. Love Bo Stevens. We could get him with this next pick or maybe with a fourth rounder later. I like Bo Stevens, so he's still there. Jeremiah Wright, love him. He's still there. Fabechi Nuewu, like I said, Billy Strouth. So, I mean, there is value in the fourth round, but are those guys guaranteed starters? No, they're not. That's why I would have liked Emmanuel Pregnon or Chase Basantis. But there are still guys that we can get. That is the light at the end of the tunnel. There are still guys that we can get in the fourth round. And that's probably what the Niners saw when looking at the board. There is better value in offensive line. But I just don't know how you can see running back reaching for that type of running back, a 5'9", not necessarily that explosive running back, instead of getting an offensive lineman. So that's all I'm going to say. Do you agree with me? Do you think the Niners picks were kind of spotty? You know, a bunch of reaches? Drop that in the comments. I will say I need to get my mic situation figured out because I watch these podcasts over again and I'm like, my audio is terrible. So maybe I should invest in a new mic that doesn't, half the time doesn't even register with my computer anymore when I plug it in. But anyways, you guys have a good night. We'll see you probably on Sunday. I'll react to some more of the Niners picks. Hopefully they're not. I would say after today, I'd give them a solid C after today. So hopefully it's better tomorrow than today.